Welcome to The Author's Journey with #1 international best-selling author and in-demand publisher, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. Today, we'll showcase the works of an amazing best-selling author, find out the story behind their book, and explore ways to bring your message powerfully forward. Now, here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome, everyone. I hope that you're having an amazing day. Honored to be connecting in with you on The Author's Journey, where we talk to best-selling authors who pull back the curtain and share what the journey is really like. What does it take to bring your book forward, to publish it, to have it from someday come forward as a today opportunity to share with the world? How do we do that? And so we're doing a special series where we're actually talking to experts in the field of helping authors bring their books forward. So we recently interviewed somebody in the Audible space, and they were talking about it, taking it from the perspective of helping authors use their voices in Audible books and how important and powerful the audio space is, and it's one of the fastest growing spaces. So today we have an amazing expert joining us who specializes in bringing in professional voice talent to help you bring your book to life and bring it forward. So I'm excited for our conversation. I think it'll add to the things you really want to be aware of when you're looking to bring your book forward. But in order to get the most out of our time together today, it is really important that you choose to be present. You slow down just a moment, take a breath, and become fully present, so you can actually receive information and take it in. I encourage you to get a piece of paper so that you can write notes and your favorite writing utensil to capture ideas and tips that come your way, so that as you're fully present, you're being fully served. And this is a time that we get to pour into you. So I want you to enjoy it. I want you to be present. I want you to be looking forward to all the conversation we'll be sharing with you and providing you so that you can bring your book forward in all the ways and formats that it is called to serve. So welcome. Let's take a moment as we take that breath again. It's so good to breathe. We're becoming still. And just really think about what is it you need today to support you in bringing your book forward, particularly in the audio space. What are you curious about? What are you wanting to learn? What are you trying to understand? And I know that you're going to enjoy our amazing guest, all that she has to share with us today, and expand your thinking of the different ways you can approach the Audible space so that you can really leverage that growing market space and reach all of your people. So as you're thinking about it, writing a couple of those notes, hopefully will answer most of your questions. But if we missed anything, those are some great things you can connect further with our guest about or myself about so that we can support you on your journey. So welcome, everybody. Just thrilled to have you joining us. And Judy Blue is our amazing guest. So let me take a couple of moments and just share a little bit about her. She is a veteran professional actor with decades of experience in theater, film, and TV. She is an Audiophile Award winner. She narrates and hires voice talent for her company, Blue Audio Narration. Her years of workshopping new plays and as a company member of the Shakespeare Project of Chicago and appearances at Chicago's Shakespeare Theater have given her respect for the work of a writer. She is a proud member of SAG-AFTRA. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that. Can you help me on that, Judy?
Yes, you're definitely pronouncing that right. It's Screen Actors Guild. Yes, indeed.
Perfect. I want to be accurate here, so thank you. And Actors Equity Association. She and her company bring professional talent to the written word to help it connect well with the listening audience, bringing in their performance and communication skills so the words come alive and are truly felt and heard and deeply connect with the listening audience. Please lean in and warmly welcome the amazing and dynamic Judy Blue to the show. Welcome.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I feel wonderful all over. I feel all kind of tingly. That's excellent.
So
Marvelous.
it was felt, it connected, we're good. Oh, I'm glad.
This is all we do when we talk is if we just giggle on the phone. So this is, I hope I don't giggle all the way through this. You're so wonderful to talk to.
Well, I'm just thrilled to have you joining us and excited for the conversation. You have expanded my view and understanding in the audio space so much, and I'm so proud to have you as part of our team and one of the amazing people that we get to share with our authors. And I'm just excited you were able to make time for us today to help expand our listeners' views in the audio space, because I think we have a lot of theories, a lot of things we think of how it works, but we don't always know how it works. So I'm looking forward to digging into that a little bit. But before we get into that part of the content, I thought it would be really interesting to have you share a little bit of your journey and why you do the work that you do today. So from actor to bringing forward professional voice talent and helping authors in this way, I'd love for you to share.
Thank you. I absolutely admire the work of writers so very, very much. And I am not a writer, so that's even better. You are amazing, creative voices in our universe, and I'm so delighted to be able to help in any way bring your words forth. And that is our journey. And as an actor, all of us, most of us who spend our lives doing this, really, when it comes down to it, in the why we do it, is that we want to tell a story, we want to communicate, we want to change lives. And if we're not the writer, then we want to be the medium that you use in order to get your word out there, to get your point of view out for your purpose of changing the world, which you're doing when you write. So really, we cannot thank you. I will speak for all actors in voiceover and in the audiobook medium that we thank you so much for letting us be a part of the process of your book. We're just thrilled, for sure. I will say that my journey, I've been an actor all my life, and I'm a theater actor through and through, have been a member of the Actors Equity, the union, since I was 24, and it started with new plays and Shakespeare and musicals. I was such a musical theater performer for throughout my life, but I really did all of it. And so I found that the core work through the years that I keep coming back to is new plays and Shakespeare. And you will find there is a trend in narrators, in actor narrators, that they will have a background in Shakespeare. And you'll find a lot of the teachers. We have a lot of audiobook narration coaches out there in the world now, and most of them come from a Shakespeare background. And it's because you spend so much time analyzing the text and the verse in Shakespeare and looking up words and analyzing every little beat and nuance in how that work was written, because it was written to be said, because they didn't have directors for most of Shakespeare's work in his time. So the actual writing had to be written in such a way that the actor would just know how to say it. And so that's why we spend all that time on that. As well with, and so let me translate that to the author's work. We find over and over when we read a book to attempt to translate or inhabit your words, we have to go back and really look at your patterns of writing and look at the way you're writing. And if it's fiction, then it's the way you're writing a particular character or a particular phrase, how your phrasing works with different people. With the nonfiction that we're working with with RHG Productions, that is that's fascinating because it's from the author's point of view. So we really, as narrators, are really trying to find where you're speaking from. What emotion are you having? What are you using short words for this phrase? Are you using a long phrase for another phrase? And what does that create emotionally in us? And I don't mean to overwork this, because truly we are trying to get to the intention of your book or your paragraph or your sentence. That is our intention. So it's fun. Obviously, I can just talk and talk and talk. So please stop me.
I love it. No. This is great. I mean, it's such an area of specialization, and I didn't know that in all of our conversations that we've had over time, that many of them have a background in Shakespeare. So that's interesting to know, and some of why that is, and why that can be good to know when we as writers are looking at bringing our book forward and we're evaluating, do we want voice talent? Do we want to use our own talent? If we want voice talent, what do we look for? And is all voice talent the same? Is a voice talent a voice talent a voice talent, or are there certain things we should be looking for and be aware of as we're trying to make choices? Because I know in the podcast space, lots of people are starting podcasts, and podcasts are kind of popping up everywhere. It's growing. But that doesn't mean all podcasts are alike, and the quality of them or how they're produced, or that they're produced doesn't mean they're listened to. So kind of not all podcasts are alike, and not all radio is alike. So I suspect it's the same with a voice talent, that there are probably different levels and things to be aware of with that. And I would love, actually, before we go to our first break, I'd love for you to answer or add to that. When we look at it from a voice talent perspective, is it more complex than just finding someone to read a section because you like their voice?
Oh, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. It's very kind. Yes, there is a big, big difference. What you will find with a professional actor who has been in the business, who's done, especially people who have done the theater, and that's not necessary, but it is something that helps. It may not seem necessary for nonfiction to have someone who has been able to express different roles and emotions, etc. However, it's the quality of the work that goes into looking at your work. Because there isn't, you analyze the words on the page, and you do it quickly. And that's what's so beautiful. When you have a wonderful professional actor, they have probably done about 300 new plays where they've never even looked at the script before, and they're doing a cold read of a brand new piece of work, and they read a sentence ahead all the time. They're already thinking a sentence ahead. So that is what we are also doing, even though we will have read your book before. They will be thinking a sentence ahead in order to achieve intention. So just a narrator who might be able to just, I can't even describe that, won't actually be able to achieve that. You want someone who's actually able to read the intention into your work and to know where they're going with energy and phrasing. And that's what a professional actor will bring to you. Plus, they will connect to your audience. But we can talk about that in a second, too.
Sure. No, that's great, because I think sometimes there's this myth out there, this expectation is we like how somebody sounds or we like their voice, and so therefore we want them to be our voice talent for a book or for a reading or something, but it doesn't mean they're experienced in using their voice in that way and expressing it, and the spacing, the patterns, so that it really connects acting with their voice in a way that really connects with the listening audience audience and kind of embodies your message. And that's something with professional voice talent that have a background in acting. That's what they do, and day in and day out. And so they can really take that on. And I think that's an important distinction, because I just think people, a lot of people are stepping into this space. They're newer in their space, which is great, but they don't necessarily have that level of experience that an actor has, that has done that training day in and day out for what they do. And I love that, reading ahead, that's just becomes part of the wiring because of what they do. So that's powerful information. We are getting ready to go to our first commercial break. And as we do that, listeners, I want you to just take a moment or two to really think about if you are in the process of looking for voice talent, and maybe adding a couple of those questions and learning a little bit of their background and how many books they have done, and maybe listening to some of them can be powerful. So as we come back, we're even going to talk about, I was thinking one of the things Judy and her team do is they even have auditions where they put a variety of different voices reading parts of the author's book, so the author can get a feel and listen and select the talent that really fits what they are trying to achieve with the book. So I love that as well. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how you make the decision of professional voice talent versus your own voice, and what really goes into bringing an audio book forward, because I think there's some myths around that as well. So we're going to talk about that too. We'll look forward to talking with you in just a moment.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message. Explore the poetry of Sam Yao. His book of poems, Soul's Journey, is a #1 international bestseller. Sam is a contemporary poet with a unique and highly relatable poetic style to convey the essence of spiritual truths for our time. Readers will find beauty, inspiration, and healing in his words. Get his book, Soul's Journey, today on Amazon.com or visit samyaupoetry.com. That's Sam, Y-A-U, poetry.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that moment, that pause to think about all that Judy has shared. And as you're learning about the audio space, any additional questions or things that you are wanting to know, so that we're hopefully answering those questions. But you can always reach out to myself or Judy. We'll make sure to share her contact information towards the end of the show for additional questions. And she has a super special offer that she will be sharing as well. So excited to be bringing all of that forward in our conversation today. We were talking about the way that professional voice talent connects with the audience and some of the differences between, just emphasizing that not all voice talent that is calling themselves voice talent necessarily have the same experience or background. So it's great to dig a little deeper when you're talking with talent and really recognizing just because you like a particular voice, they may or may not have experience in reading a book and a manuscript and kind of bringing it to life. So it's good to explore and go a little bit deeper with them just so you're on the same page with the expectation of what you're wanting to have happen. Because the more experienced they are, and Judy, I'd love to have you talk about this too, that in conversations we've had, when somebody is, for example, an author wanting to read their own book and do it that way and produce it versus someone who this is what they do day in and day out. It takes much longer for someone who this is not what they do day in and day out to be able to sound the same at the beginning of the chapter versus at the end of the chapter, and the spacing and the pausing and the production. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
No, I think this is such a fascinating thing to have an author read their own, and it can be so marvelous, especially if you have a style, if you know you have a vocal style that people enjoy on your podcast or when you're being interviewed. And it's something that you want to share, and you want to share your own words. That can be very exciting, and it is something where you can actually connect to your audience in a very personal way. However, how that usually is achieved is when you are doing your own book. I think I find when I'm listening to authors who are doing their own book, and I have heard that authors do this as well, that they find when they're recording, they change. They change their words along the way. They improv a little bit because they've written the book to be read and not to be spoken. And professional actors used to this and can adjust their tone or still read your work word perfect to what you wrote, but still make it sound, like they're speaking it. So that's part of our work. But when it's your own work, I do find that authors change their text just a little bit here and there to make it more personal and to connect to your audience. And it's more than just conjunctions like can't and cannot. There are phrases that just will sound clunky when you're speaking them. So that's a fun thing, and that I think if an author is available to that kind of change and improvisation with their own text, even though this is a book, they worked really hard to make every single word correct, I'm sure. It really works if you are that malleable with your own work. What these long-form narration books take, it's an interesting thing because if you do want to read your own book, it's not like doing a podcast, of course, because like this, we're having a conversation and we're just chatting, and it's easy. We could talk all day. But when you are reading a book, you are thinking about the sentence that you're working. You will probably have edits. You will probably make mistakes. You'll trip over your tongue, and you'll have to go back and edit. It takes hours and hours and hours to do a book, and it does take a great deal of stamina. It's very, very different than doing a podcast. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself, but because you are trying to connect your words that you have written to your audience. And it takes a while. It's interesting because we do want to hear the author's voice. We want to hear you speak to me one-on-one. I want to connect. All of these books that we have been so privileged to read and narrate for you, Rebecca, all the anthologies and everything. We have tried so hard to actually get to an honesty, a complete and utter honesty with the words so that we can feel like we are the author communicating to the listener one-on-one. That listener wearing their earbuds while they're washing dishes or driving the car or whatever they're doing, that we want to connect with them one-on-one. Or like I like to sometimes with some work, we all listen to TED Talks, and they are fascinating in their connectivity. The fact that they always sound like they're talking directly to you. I mean, not all of them, but most of them sound like they are talking directly to you right there in the front, right there right there in the first person in that audience seat, right there. Yeah, I'm talking to you because I wanted to tell you about what I'm talking about, etc. I'm just being silly because I'm pointing at my chest of drawers here, but it's that kind of connection that we want to have. And sometimes an author, especially if they're used to speaking a lot and they do a lot of podcast work, they're really able to do that. And it is exciting and it's visceral and you can just feel that person talking to you. The only warning I say is that it's going to take a really long time because it just requires a lot of CMS to do your own book. And you need a good editor with you because if you're not used to doing all the punch and roll and all the different editing tools in order to just make that to make quick work of those edits along the way, then you need someone along with you. You need an engineer to help you get through that, which is something.
No, this is great because, well, I think that we just have this myth that, I just, how many hours will it take to read? And I just kind of do it. But you don't want to sound tired. You don't want to have the scratchy voice that day. You don't want to, start, maybe you laugh halfway or you get disrupted or something. And being able to have that same rhythm so you sound just as attuned and connected with the reader at the beginning of the chapter as you do at the end of the chapter and the next chapter. And having that so that there is a smooth, even experience for the listener versus uneven and kind of all over the place. You want it to sound polished and professional and represent your message really well. And I know in the writing space, I find that it takes a little while for authors to sometimes find their writing voice and their style, and it's different than their speaking voice. And I imagine it's the same as their reading voice is probably yet different as well to use to bring their words to life. So if an author were thinking, that's great, I really want to read my book, I'm excited by this, I want to bring it forward, do you have a couple tips or advice for that? Well, of course, come to mind first, of course, is to get a professional studio, be in a professional studio with an engineer. So you were in a perfect sound booth type place and you have a great mic so that you have a clean sound. That is so incredibly important, and you've got someone to edit. And of course, we of course have are able to provide that as well. So that's something that we can do too. But that's number one. And plan on just spending maybe 2 to 3 hours a day on this because your voice will get tired, but moreover, your brain gets tired, and you start making mistake after mistake after mistake where you would never think that you would. You have no reason to do that. Your brain is tired. It's very funny how it happens. So that's really important. And I would really look through your book and see what you can edit out. What sounds right in spoken out loud to someone else? Would you? It's not the best example, but obviously you're not going to say out loud the entire link address to something, or you might say a phrase slightly differently than you would write it, which is what I mentioned before. So I think it will take a little time, and it might be exciting to really look through your book and speak it out loud to yourself, so chapter by chapter, and see how you could edit that book to be spoken by yourself, by you, and take that time. So it'll take a lot of time, but very exciting, and it could be very personal in your voice. And that is the point, is to make it as if you are discovering each thought as you say it. This, when you, just as you wrote it, you may not have known exactly what you're going to say in the next sentence or in the next paragraph. It came to you. If you can
speak it and speak that book and tell the story of that book in that same discoverable way, then it will sound immediate. Like you just thought of that next sentence, and you thought of that next sentence. Oh, and then I thought of that next sentence. And allow yourself to become as excited as your inner thoughts are. And that excitement may seem frivolous in a way for me to say that out loud, or if you're hearing that right now, it may seem oddly silly. Interestingly, it doesn't translate that way over the mic. It just doesn't. You need that little bit extra in order to touch your listener. And otherwise, they'll start to just tune out. And you don't want that. You definitely want that energy, and the energy of thought, and the energy of discovery. In all of this nonfiction work, definitely the energy of discovery. That's why you wrote it. You wanted them to listen to it and learn and enjoy and shine. So it needs that energy. So it's great to have a director there, too. That is also a beautiful thing to do and to give yourself, is to have someone there along with you. And sometimes your engineer can act as the director. Sometimes to have someone listening there as well to say, no, let's try that again. Let's take that and build the tone there, build the emotion of that, or just give me more volume there, or take the pace differently. You can have whatever you want.
Great.
You can have whatever you need.
No, I think it's great because I think we don't realize all that goes into it. And I hope that as any of you out there listening to a podcast or listening to an audiobook now, it's with a little bit different ear as you listen for some of these things and see how they're being done. So why would somebody lean towards doing a professional voice talent versus doing it themselves? Why would they do that? What would lead them to do that?
And I'm sorry, can you repeat that question one more time?
Sure. Well, I'm just thinking we're talking a lot about how to help them if they're wanting to use their voice and bring it forward. And I think that's great. We've talked a little bit about what a professional voice talent expert does and how they're different, and some of the things to be aware of when you're looking at voice talent out there. So with all of that information, how would you recommend somebody feel in to decide it's, I really am going to go the professional voice talent way, or I think it's really time for me to do it in my voice. How would somebody navigate those waters and decide?
Number one, I would first pull out a couple of excerpts from your book and things that you think are especially challenging, that might be especially dry, but information-based. Dry in a good way, information-based, and something that's emotionally charged. 2 excerpts from your book, maybe about a minute long, and send those to me, and I will have someone actually voice those in a way, in a kind of audition, and see what that sounds like in someone else's voice, actually speaking your words with intention. And to hear that and then record yourself. Simple as this. You're basically auditioning yourself and you're auditioning somebody else. And then listen to yourself, see how it feels, and listen to it objectively. Have someone else listen to it. It's always great to have other ears. Because this is a long process. So definitely, before you jump in, have someone else listen as well and say, I think this is the way I ought to go. Either whichever way it is, but have someone else listen, but have that comparison.
I think that's great because I think, in addition to actually auditioning yourself, which is brilliant, I think some of what you shared today is the time, how much time and energy do you have bandwidth-wise to devote to it and to invest in that kind of expertise of the studio, the support that you need to bring your voice forward, and the time that'll take, versus delegating that and then having the professional voice talent represent you and do it on your behalf. So I think there's a time consideration. There is a auditioning yourself so you can really kind of hear the difference and see if there's a difference, and with that difference, which way are you leaning towards doing. And one of the things I find with a lot of authors and creators are that we've already created that and we get a little bit bored because we already did that. We don't want to read it. We did it. We don't want to keep reading it and saying it over and over. We already did that in writing and producing and sharing it, and we're on to the next thing we're wanting to create. And so I'm not surprised that a lot of times authors are changing phrases in here because we're creators. And so we're adjusting and creating and growing. So I think it's good to think about those things and to really as we're looking at voice talent, I love the idea of the audition. I liked your suggestion, Judy, about having a minute segment where it's, you called it drier, but it's more like factual kind of content, information based, and something that's more charged. And doing a reading of both of those about a minute long, and then auditioning some voice talent and kind of seeing. I think that's just a brilliant opportunity to really test it out and see what it sounds like, see what you like best, and then move along that path. And then when you are moving along the path, there is not just the recording and the producing of the audio part, then there's a production and editing and uploading, and all those pieces need to happen in the right order and be at the right levels, the right specs, in order to publish it and bring it forward and make it available for people to listen. And I just wanted to touch on that because I think sometimes we aren't aware of that on the production side of things. So we are getting ready to go to our next commercial break. And as we do that, listeners, I want you to think about all the information that we've been sharing and bringing forward. And then when we come back, I'm going to have Judy share her special opportunity with you, how you can connect and go deeper, and then any final thoughts. So we'll look forward to continuing our conversation in just a moment.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com, and make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message. Explore the poetry of Sam Yao. His book of poems, Soul's Journey, is a #1 international bestseller. Sam is a contemporary poet with a unique and highly relatable poetic style to convey the essence of spiritual truths for our time. Readers will find beauty, inspiration, and healing in his words. Get his book, Soul's Journey, today on Amazon.com or visit samyaupoetry.com. That's Sam, Y-A-U, poetry.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that moment to pause and really look at your notes and take in all the information that we've been sharing with you to support you on your journey and evaluating, do I want to bring my book forward? Do I want to be in the Audible space? And what are some of the things to be thinking about in doing that? And we touched on publishing. I touched on it very quickly that there is a process you go through and specs and different steps that you go through, including a cover that needs to go into doing an Audible book and bringing it forward. It's not an audio book, I should say. It's not as simple as recording, submit, print, or publish. There's more steps that go into it. And there are different platforms that you can share out on. And Audible, Amazon, iTunes are kind of the big three, but there's other platforms that can get you into libraries that can have different types of royalty splits and different things out there. So it's great to have an expert that can guide you through some of that, support you in that, so that you can focus on bringing your content forward and either doing it with your voice or having talent come in and do it with their voice, and you focus on that instead of how to navigate all the systems. So I think it's good to know they're there, though, and that there are many options and ways that you can bring your audiobook forward to reach as many people as possible. And with that, Judy, I just wanted to hand the floor back to you if you had anything in addition to that on the publishing side you wanted to offer.
Oh, yes, thanks. Exactly. You have said it all. There are so many platforms out there. One thing that's so very important is that you do need to have your recording professionally recorded and mastered, meaning getting the proper mastered and edited with the proper tone, background noise, volume levels, etc. for any of these audio publishing groups to accept them. They are very appropriately. They want the finished product to sound a certain way. So it has to all be done with a professional that can master this work. So that is part of what we do. And there's so many opportunities. The one thing that we bring with Blue Audio Narration is that we actually find and give you proven actors and voices that can do the work. Because there's a lot of voices out there, and it's a big old talent pool. So that's something we certainly want to offer you. And the other thing I want to say about marketing, audiobooks do not sell themselves. And I know you know that. I know you know that from your own book, that everything has to be marketed. And so there are lots of opportunities, lots of free coupons that you can give to get reviews. And you know all this, I know, but it's certainly true with audiobooks too, is put little clips out there, and we can remaster a little clip with some music under it. We can do all sorts of things in order to get that book content out there for advertising.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's so important, whether it's Kindle, print, or audio, that just because it's available doesn't mean people lean in and get a copy, listen, read, or watch and enjoy. It really does take having a plan and marketing and consistently bringing it to people's hearts and minds and keeping it top of mind. So it's important with any of the formats of the book that you have a plan, you're consistently promoting and sharing, because it's a lot of work to bring a book forward, and it's designed to change people's lives, and it can't change them if they don't know about it, and they can't hear it, and they can't find it, and they don't even know to look. So really, really important that you do have any sort of you need to build a marketing plan where you're doing that. And it doesn't always have to be where you're paying for ads or things like that, but there's a consistent way that you're bringing the message forward and you're sharing it out in social media, in emails, in interviews, that you're doing something proactively to keep it in front of people. Really important. I'm really glad you brought that up, because it is something that I find when people initially launch, they do that and then it kind of drops off, but you gotta keep it going so it can keep having the impact. And with all of this that we've talked about in the audio space, Judy has a really special offer. So I want Judy to share, for those of you who want to connect with her, go deeper, how to do that. And then can you share what your offer is and the best way for them to take advantage of it?
Yes. Would you please email me at Judy at blueaudionarration.com. That's Judy, Judy, at blueaudionarration.com. Send me a 1 minute or a page excerpt of your work, and I will have someone narrate it for you and send that back to you so you can get a feel of what your words would sound like in someone else's voice. I will look at it. I will choose somebody. And you can also tell me what you think. You can give me a background, anything, any background of a person at all, and I will find someone for you, and so you can see what it sounds like. And just
I love
me.
that. And then audition yourself too, reading the same excerpt, so that
exactly.
they can hear the difference. So that's a great way for people to try it out, test. Please make sure when you email her, you put RHG in the subject line or in the email, so that it ties back to us and she's able to honor that. I just want to make sure that all connects so that she can do that. That's a special offer she's making available for us. So RHG is kind of the ticket to get that, either in the subject line or in the email.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you making that available. That's the way they can connect with you. And listeners, if you do have any questions or wanting to talk about publishing, bringing your book forward, explore things, we're always here to help. Please feel free to schedule a time to talk with me personally at meetwithrebecca.com. Again, that's meetwithrebecca.com. That'll take you directly to my calendar to schedule a time for us to talk. And we'd love to support you in bringing your powerful book forward in the best way for you, in the best formats and the best avenues, so that you can really reach the people you are called to reach with your transformational message. Thank you, Judy, for joining us today. Listeners, thank you for listening, tuning in. As you get ready to go back out in the world, I want to encourage you to take a couple moments, pause, really take in the information. If you look at your notes, you have some additional questions. Guess what? You have Judy's email. You can send her a quick question. You can always send us an email as well. We're always happy to support you. And I hope that you find a step you can take today on your journey to bring your powerful book forward. Have an amazing week, everyone. I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to The Author's Journey. Please join Rebecca Hall Gruyter for another edition of the Author's Journey podcast every Monday on the Voice America Variety Channel. And until we talk again, use some of the tips and inspiration from today's show to guide you as you lean in to bringing your message forward.